Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first of two live streams we'll have about our CMON Comics Volume 2 pre-order, which just opened. Yes, you can pre-order this now. We'll leave a link in the comment section. My name is Elena. I am joined now by Kenneth Tan, our producer. How are you, Kenneth?
I'm good. It's a little late and I want to watch a soccer game, but we're all here now for this.
Yes, we are. Today we'll be covering 4 of the 9 titles we have available for the comics. So we'll be covering Twilight Imperium Corrupted Space, Android Run the Citadel, Chronicles of Hate, and Dust London Falling. We'll have different segments for each title, and Kenneth will be present in all of them since he's the producer of the whole project. But I'll invite the authors in. And you are free to ask them questions. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section and we'll address them as we go. So, shall we start? We'll start with our very first title, which is Twilight Imperium Corrupted Space. Hello. So I'm joined now by authors Ron Marz and Andy Lanning. How are both of you? Let's start with Andy. Let's go in alphabetical order.
Yes, very well. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And how are you, Ron?
I'm great. Thanks for having us. Even though the World Cup is going on, we're happy to be here.
Yes. Let me just address this really quickly. I'm not sure if everyone watching us know, but I'm Brazilian and I live in Brazil. And Brazil is currently playing Croatia. So if you hear a very loud noise, that is the game happening. And there's nothing I can do to control that. So before we start, can you guys talk about a little bit about yourselves, your career, and your work? Let's start with Andy.
So I've been working in the comic business for over 30 years as a writer and as an inker. So working on the artwork side of things as well. I think Ron will probably be in the same as me. Between us, we've probably written almost any comic character you care to throw at us from Marvel and DC. My claim to fame is having written the run of Guardians of the Galaxy comic, the one that they made into the movie. And then on the art side, I got to ink Dave Gibbons on Secret Service that got made into the Kingsman. So I've been very fortunate. And and then for my penance, I get to work with Ron, which is kind of like community service I do.
We all have our crosses to bear, Andrew.
It's true.
Like Andy, I've been doing this for more than 30 years. Have written everybody and everything for Marvel and DC and Dark Horse and Image and every place in between. Green Lantern, Silver Surfer, Star Wars, Marvel versus DC. I like to say I've danced with all the girls at the party.
Well, with us, we are now releasing Twilight Imperium Corrupted Space, and very exciting. We were discussing this before the live stream started. People are very loyal to this game. Like, the fan base is very engaged. And so can you tell us a little bit more about the story here?
So Ron and I wanted to tell a story that really took us on a tour of the vast catalogue of space that has been developed in the Twilight Imperium universe. The game is physically massive. I think you could work out with the box every morning, lifting it above your head. But it's equally got a massive backstory that goes along with it, which I think is what people really latch onto. Not only is the gameplay incredibly detailed and strategic and can take a whole day to play, there's levels of depth to the backstory for all of the factions and all of the characters within the factions and the stories that have been written around it. So we particularly were coming on board with an idea around the Prophecy of Kings expansion pack and the new factions that introduced. So we wanted to focus particularly on the Vulwraith, the monstrous new race that came into Prophecy of Kings, and create a story, like I say, where we wanted to bring in as many factions and characters who represent factions as possible into the story, and kind of showcase events in the story that kind of reflected gameplay, to a degree. So we're trying to seed it where there are gravity rifts in there. There are war suns. There's a space station Sumerian. We're referencing everything we could possibly bring in, or as much as we possibly could bring in. We've got the new races, the Vulwraith. We've got the Nomad in there, the Titans of Ur, the Nazrokar and that alliance. All of which is kind of like woven into a story where we bring a team of characters together to kind of go on a dirty dozen sort of mission, which some of them may not come back from. It's that type of mission, but it pays really well. So they get together to go and investigate what actually turns out to be the Vulwraith incursion. And having done that, I'll pass you to Ron, who can fill any other details I've missed.
No, Andy covered a great deal of it. It's we wanted to make sure that we were hitting all of the quadrants, no pun intended, of the game, and giving the hardcore game fans the experience of taking this story through the universe, but also making sure that it was appropriate and accessible to people who have never played Twilight Imperium. We wanted to tell a good story for anybody, but make sure that the hardcore fans are getting everything they wanted. And we had a pretty good page count to get all that stuff in there. So we just had a ball sort of making this travelogue with a bunch of characters that we've kind of fallen in love with now.
I'm not sure if you guys can hear that, but I assume Brazil just scored a goal.
Brazil just scored. The 105th minute, Brazil just scored.
Oh, that's confirmed. I'm just assuming by the noise.
I might have the game on another screen here.
I'm sorry if you can hear that. It's just I literally have no control over it. So what can Twilight Imperium fans look forward to in the comic? Like, what did you want to make sure was included here? Because Twilight Imperium, as you said, the gameplay sessions can be really long, so it's almost a lifestyle choice more than a game. So what can they expect to? And while I'm at it, did you guys play it? What is your relationship with the game? Let's start the other way around. Let's start with Ron this time.
Yeah, I hadn't played it before the assignment came down, but as it turns out, one of my other projects is I work on Diablo 4 for Blizzard, and there's a development office here in upstate New York where I live, and there was a Twilight Imperium group that plays once a month. When I joined the project, and I was like, oh well, I'm actually working on something that has something to do with that. So they invited me into the group, and I've played a few times with the locals, and they were very kind and sort of gently working me into the game as to the strategy and the vast number of pieces that go with it. So I've had my experience with the game, which was actually hugely helpful when we were working on it, to sort of have the game experience and be able to try to translate some of that into the story. I thought was kind of necessary, and we got sent, as Andy said, these massive boxes of the game, which we were really grateful for, to really give us a sense of everything that we wanted to get in there. So the graphic novel is pretty jam packed with with all of the factions, all of the powers that that are sort of vying for supremacy in the Twilight Imperium universe. And but we wanted to make sure that that wasn't at the expense of telling a good cohesive story with characters that you actually cared about. So that was sort of the twin goals that we had, is make sure that we were getting all of the cool stuff that's in the game in the comic, but also make sure that you've got a bunch of characters that you really get invested in and care about. And thankfully we had a terrific art team, including the penciler Neto Diaz, who is also from Brazil. He's probably very happy right now. We have an Indian inker named Jagdish Kumar, and a Greek colorist who's named Nikos, who is also awesome. So this was totally an international team to bring together an epic universal project.
Yeah. Anything to add there, Andy?
No, I think Ron's covered it all. I need to say that I still haven't played the game because I haven't got anyone who's got the time and the wherewithal to sit down and play it with me. I haven't got a local Blizzard office nearby that I can go and play the game with. I love board games. We do play a lot of board games in my house, but so I've watched lots of YouTube videos of people playing the game, so I feel I could jump into a game quite quickly. And in fact, one of the things which was a bit of a challenge was what we had to leave out. I was saying we were trying to represent as many of the factions as we can and as many of the elements, but it really is a big game and a big universe. So there's we had to focus on the characters, like Ron said, that we wanted to tell the story about, which means that there's a lot more stories we could potentially tell in this universe, because it is that big. I think big is the adjective to describe every element of Twilight Imperium as a game and as a concept.
Yes, that is very true. Speaking of the board game, Kenneth, I have brought 6 of the 12 promos we have as extras for those who pre-order the comics on our pre-order page, which, by the way, let me remind you, in case you joined us a little bit late, is live now. You can pre-order this now. The link will be in the description. So, Kenneth, can you introduce us to these?
Right. So when we were trying to design gameplay elements for this one, we wanted to stay true to the game. We didn't want to change anything. So these gameplay elements are going to supplement your existing game of Twilight Imperium. So we're not adding new rules. These are just aesthetic changes. So what happens is that we have the base color plates for all of the player colors that you have. And you have the flagships for the specific factions that you want to play with. So currently, the ones that we're showing on screen is the Eliza ZIX Mindnet, the Emirates of Hakan, the Sadak Nor, which actually have the plastic here. The tail separation is actually quite fantastic. Like, these are final plastic, and like the detail for this is quite amazing. Only because we have fantastic reference art and source material to draw from. So yeah, we are showing 6 of the 12 factions that will be included in the Twilight comic. So at the start of the game, after you choose a faction, you simply take this one, which is a gray mini, and then you place it on top of the base. All of them have the peg holes, and that's going to be your flagship for the game.
Yeah. How many different colored bases?
Currently, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8.
And of course, the question everyone is asking here: hopefully, other 12 in the future.
Well, there are 24 or 25 factions. We are doing 12 now. Potentially, we could be doing more.
Yeah. who knows what the future brings. Well, it's time to talk to Jackson Lanzing and Collin Kelly about Android Run the Citadel. Ron and Andy, thank you so much for joining us. I hope we'll see more of each other in the future. You have any final words for the audience?
I think whether you're a hardcore Twilight Imperium gamer or you just like cool space stories, this is applicable to you. We tried to make sure that everything was introduced properly, that the level of craft that we brought to the story eases you into this universe. And hopefully it's just our first foray. We really got attached to these characters and to this universe. There's plenty more stories to tell.
Yeah. And again, it looks fantastic. We were very, very lucky with the art team who've knocked it out the park. They've been absolutely excellent. So, and come on, Brazil, 15 minutes, you can do it.
I'm watching the game via comment section. People are letting us know about what happened. Well, thank you so much. Let's go to our next session. Android Run the Citadel. And we are back. We are now joined by Collin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing. How are both of you? Let's go alphabetical order like we did in the first segment. So Collin first.
Absolutely wonderful. Really happy to be here. I've got my coffee. I've got my I'm excited to be here.
He's got his coffee. He's got his coffee.
Yeah.
I also have my coffee. Very nice to see you guys. And psyched to be here to finally talk about Android. That's all right. You're in a later time zone than us. We're coming up with the sun over here. So this is just how we do.
I just have boring water, and Kenneth apparently has something else. You have what do you have? Oh, you have
Hand sanitizer for
don't drink that. Don't drink that. Don't drink that.
So before we start talking about Android, can you guys introduce yourselves and your career? Starting with Collin.
Yeah, well, we can tag team this. Jackson and I have been a writing duo for about 13 years now. We do absolutely everything together. We're best friends and co-creators. We got started in school. We both went to the University of Southern California, but ever since then, we've been writing in Hollywood, but also comics, which is our primary love and where we've been spending a lot of time.
People might know us recently from a run on Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty at Marvel, or Batman Beyond Neo Year over at DC. In independent comic books, we wrote a book called Hacktivist with Alyssa Milano many years ago, as well as Joyride with Marcus Toe over at Boom Studios. And then we also run the ongoing Star Trek comics over at IDW. So we, unlike Ron and Andy, who are heroes of ours, we are just getting started writing all of the characters in the comics universe, but it's been a very exciting time for us the last few years, just kind of getting to play in these just storied, wonderful universes, including obviously the world of Android.
Wow. Yeah. Speaking of that, can you guys introduce us to Android Run the Citadel? What's the story here? Sorry, let me just, before we do the whole The Office standoff, let's start with Jackson.
yeah, that's always useful. So Android Run the Citadel is basically it's a graphic novel that takes place within the space of 1 minute of real world time. We are dealing with a very, very tight sort of time clock as a net runner, a hacker known as Chaos Theory, is going into the wild world of androids, sort of living internet, the networks that exist between all things in the Android universe, and is trying to solve a seemingly unsolvable puzzle that has killed her 3 best friends. All of her friends have gone in and tried to solve this puzzle, and they have each been one by one annihilated by it, effectively been rendered brain dead by the Citadel, which is this sort of giant unlockable network puzzle. And as she tries to go into it and starts to understand the truth behind it, she starts to also understand the truth behind her friend's death and gets to sort of mourn them and go through that process. So it is a book simultaneously about the sort of like crazy, surreal punk rock way that hacking works in the Android universe, which we found really, really exciting and was the thing that we wanted to dial ourselves into here, which is net running and how net running can be visualized and how different it can be and the kind of amazing opportunities that comics allows for. And it's also very much a story about grieving and how we get through grief and how we get through hard times that seem hopeless, which seems really appropriate because it was also, this was our book we wrote during the pandemic. Like this was when the whole comic book industry kind of shut down and Marvel and DC and Star Trek and no one was producing comics. We were writing Android Run the Citadel. This was the thing that got us through 2020, and I think it is very much in its own way about the resilience that it takes to get through something like that, and how you have to rely on your friends to do so.
Now on to Collin. What are you guys' relationship with the game, and what aspects did you want to make sure were incorporated here?
Yeah, we're both aware of the game. We are big. We're both big gamers. Board games, tabletop RPGs, card games. We really thrive on this stuff. So, we're very aware of Android growing up, and as we kind of were exploring it, and then when this opportunity came along, obviously we got to dive deep into the mythos. CMON was cool enough to give us. There's all sorts of back material and content that we're able to dive into and explore, and as Jack kind of points out, bring the world of net running to life. Through Chaos Theory and her partner Dinosaurus, we were able to find these two characters that are incredibly punk rock, incredibly anti-fascist, incredibly fun. And kind of throw them into this while at the same time getting to dive into all of the different kinds of ice and all of the different kinds of technology that is available to us in order to find those things that, those cards that, are so interesting and personal. A pack of digital wolves, a spear from an angel, right? There's all these really high concepts, fantasy concepts, but filtered through the lens of technology and hacking, which is just two of our favorite flavors.
Yeah, I have a bookshelf right here that I think what you can see is all Fantasy Flight books, right? It's all the Star Wars. I have all the Star Wars Fantasy Flight books on this shelf over here because I've been running Genesis, or what Genesis started as from the very beginning. I love CMON Games. We were really excited to take this on and sort of dive in on that regard.
And you created such an interesting array of characters. Now, this will be, I think, a mixed question because we can also take a look at the gameplay components. But the biggest hit when we announced this is the little dinosaur there. So can you tell us a little bit more about him?
So we can't take any credit for creating Dinosaurus. Dinosaurus has been there from the beginning, from Chaos Theory. Chaos Theory was a character from the game, showed up in the source material, and we were like, immediately felt like an us kind of character. So we really dove in on her, and she comes with Dinosaurus. Dinosaurus is her deck. It's her way of accessing the internet, right? So generally Dinosaurus isn't like a thing with personality. It's just a deck. And we thought, well, this is a good opportunity to play on what's interesting about Chaos Theory and her friends, which is that they are all data addicts. Right. Another thing from the world of Android that we really wanted to dive into. People who find themselves more comfortable in the internet than they are in the real world, that the real world is not a place that feels comfortable for them, but the internet, they feel like they can finally run free. And that idea of finding your own place, be it the internet or be it, in our world, obviously, like that can be an artistic community, that can be a friendship community, that can be the literal internet, right? That can be a project or a hobby or anything like that. Felt really accessible and like anybody could get on board that. So what we did was we personified all of that isolation and hope and those dreams and that stress that comes with that in this little cute dinosaur. Dinosaurus speaks to, in the real world, Dinosaurus is just a consciousness that Chaos Theory uses to talk to herself. It's like having a little like invisible friend, right? She'll sit there and like, you know, in a moment of stress, she might talk to herself with Dinosaurus's voice, but it's always just her talking to this inanimate object because it makes her feel more comfortable. Just like any of us might do with our well, not that our pets are inanimate objects, but you know, like with a pet or with a favorite stuffed animal or something like that. But then Dinosaurus is also the way that she can jack into the internet. And when she does that, when she gets onto the net, Dinosaurus now is an artificial intelligence construct. It is a thing that can talk to her, that can load programs, that can work with her, that can operate as a program. And suddenly Dinosaurus takes on this whole new set of personalities and capabilities, and we understand why he's so important to Chaos. So they're a really fun little like two-handed duo, right? The absolute punk rock, no shits given hacker, and then this little cute dinosaur who can do just about anything you ask him to. It was a really fun team up, and yeah, I love that little mini. I'm gonna need several for my show.
You can see on the rest of the cast there. We have Ogden, Crash Deck, and Abstract Muse. Those are the digital avatars of Chaos's best friends. The guy in the bottom right corner, that is the titular android. That is the threat that is coming for Chaos Theory. This is the beast in the real world that is putting that threat on, that is soon, within 1 minute, going to put a bullet in the back of Chaos Theory's head. And all the while in the center there, we have the being known as Syncrasis, which is a seemingly living angel within the net itself, a creature of incredible intelligence and incredible knowledge, but which exists kind of beyond our sense of time and place. We were able to lean in with the amazing Guillermo Balbi's art, right? He is just an incredible creator, and that image actually of Syncrasis, when we first started to think about, well, what does a Netrunner book look like? That was an image he came up with. And immediately we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to get our like Gnostic angels. Like we're going to start being able to bring in stuff from myth and magic into the Netrunner universe, because what is technology if not magic we don't understand yet? So,
Kenneth, what can you tell us about these characters and their gameplay aspect? Because this is very unique.
So the Android IP kind of sits in very well, I think, with our Zombicide Invader IP. And so the characters that we're going to bring in, they are Invader compatible. The 5 survivors. The Dinosaurus, he is a bot, and we have bots and sentries in Invader. So the same thing is going to happen for Dinosaurus. He's going to be a companion bot to Chaos Theory, and it is a requirement. It has low profile. That means if anybody attacks Chaos Theory, Dinosaurus is not going to be the target of attack, because you don't want him to, you know, he's cute. He should stay out of harm's way. He should.
here's our precious child.
So we've read the comics. At least the game designers and developers have read the comics, and they want to incorporate the story into the mission. In an interesting meta way, at least from what I understand it. What was happening is that Chaos Theory is playing like a TTS module of the game, of invaders, of Zombicide Invaders. And so the mission and the layout takes place as a Zombicide game, but in the world of Android, which is meta all by itself. So Syncrasis is the abomination in this one, the same way like we had the stepmother abomination in the first one, and the rest of the characters are survivors. Yep.
I see a question here, not specifically about Android, but about the pre-order in general. How long will it be up? Do we have a definite answer for that? Yeah, I don't think we do. Kenneth, that's a question for Kenneth.
Oh, that is a question for me. Sorry,
yes.
I don't think we have a definite answer for that. I need to get back to you on that.
Yes, I don't think we do, but I know it's you guys have time, at least a few weeks.
Definitely.
It's not get it this weekend or never. You will have a few days.
But just like Chaos Theory, Time is ticking. You better
I
move
do.
fast.
I want to speak to that meta narrative of the zombicide thing for a second, because I think that's really cool. One of the things that we found in writing this book, and I think for fans who maybe like don't know the Android IP as well, or like aren't as familiar with Cyberpunk, or aren't as, you know, like anybody who's here for Twilight Imperium, for instance, I think what's been really interesting about working in Android is realizing how much the genre can stretch as soon as you are net running. That like outside of there, it is a William Gibson novel, right? It is every cyberpunk universe kind of like squared away into a really great, cohesive exterior universe. And there's a lot of great stories to tell in meat space, right, out there in cyberpunk. But ultimately, once you're in the net, the genre becomes whatever the ice is. It becomes whatever the server is. It becomes whatever the net runners are projecting. And so as a result, we're able to get a horror chapter in there. We're able to get action chapters. There's a fight sequence that's solved by a dance number, right? Like this book sits in this really interesting realm of us just getting to play rather than having to like sit inside of a genre and like really, really crunch down on that, which is rare. In comics and in literature in general, it's really rare to be freed of the responsibility of genre and get to just like play around. So I love the idea that the gameplay extension is similarly playing around with the IP that you already have, but in kind of a like a meta way, yeah, but also just kind of like a screw it kind of way, like let's have fun, like what does this fit the universe? It doesn't really matter. Like that's kind of what's going on with Netrunner. It's like, oh, it was rule of cool is what we call it, right? Like, oh, is this the coolest thing that can happen? Great, it can, because it's the network. Like, let's have fun.
Yeah, that's very
true. It's just really interesting to imagine that CMON exists in the Android world, like back that. Like centuries, and then the TTS module just happened to make it all the way to the future.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my god, that's true.
That's Android 2, Kenneth. You just pitched our sequel book.
It's an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you both for joining us. Next up, we'll be talking to Adrian Smith. Any final words from you guys?
We love this book. It saved us during the pandemic. It is effectively it's a guitar solo. It's riding on your motorcycle down the PCH at 100 miles an hour. It moves fast. It moves cool. The colors are amazing. The art is surreal. This is not a book for your grandma. This book takes like some comics literacy to really get your hold on, and it takes and it's going to challenge you, and it's going to thrill you. So yeah, strap in and come to the Android universe.
Thank you so much. I hope I'll see you both soon.
Hope so.
Go Brazil.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Next up, Hates. Oh, I forgot. Sorry. That's never happened. Hello, Adrian.
Hello,
everyone.
hello.
This is Adrian Smith. Adrian, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Adrian Smith. I've been around for a long time, and nice to be here.
We have worked together a lot in the past, yes. I believe. Can you introduce everyone to the projects we have worked
I'm
together?
sorry, you meant in that respect. Okay. Yeah, I've done a lot with CMON. I think I started on The Others was the first thing, and then it was Left Rage. Forgive me if I'm missing anything out. Cthulhu, Rising Sun. Yeah, I've done a few things. Yeah, and I'm already working on 3 games simultaneously, so forgive my memory. Yeah.
So that's, I'm sure that last bit of info got everyone very excited. But today we're here to talk about Hate.
Yes.
And Hate is a very unique title in CMON Comics Volume 2, in that it is the opposite of what the other titles are. So the other titles are board games that became stories we told in comic form. And Hate is very much the opposite. It was primarily a comic, which got turned into a game. Can you tell us a little bit more about Hate and how you came up with this idea?
I decided, I can't remember, it must be about 9 or so years ago when I first started to concentrate more on comics. I'd already done stuff with Pat Mills and some personal stuff, which I released through Madefire. And I just wanted to do something more personal, something just that I knew I'd enjoy. I originally planned to do it as a silent comic, so I didn't have to work with other people like writers. But I ended up working with a writer anyway. The first book was actually completed before I talked to a writer who said, "Oh, I think you need some dialogue." And then, and I gave in and let him do some dialogue over the top. And then it's Ricardo Pinto. And he helped me write the second one, which was good and bad. Lots of arguing, but we're good friends, so we survived it. And and then it got made into a game. Thanks to David Preety at CMON, he said, "Let's make it into a game," and they did a great job. I mean, it's massive, and the miniatures are beautiful. And I'm very lucky. And how it started with that character.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the hero of the story. I drew him and thought, I'd love to put him in a story and make his life a real misery from beginning to end. Because it's horrible, but it's harmless because it's just marks on a bit of paper at the end of the day,
Yeah, it's like, I drew this and I love him. Let's put him through horrible, horrible things.
Yes.
But what is Hate about? What would be a synopsis for the story? Because Hate has a very unique style. I have a few pages here. And so what would you say the story is about?
Well, this is the beginning of book 1. You can see here these 3 pages, and you see our hero on the right-hand side. He's been having these dreams forced on him from the Earth Mother, and it keeps happening to him, and he becomes a bit obsessed with her until finally he takes it upon himself to go and try and free her. And he escapes, and it's basically a story from A to B. We just follow him going through all the nasty stuff that I throw at him, and we get a few other characters like Tyrant coming in, and it's basically his hard work getting from one place to the other. And it is hard for him. And his reward is probably not everyone's idea of a reward, but I'm not going to give anything away.
I'm told this new edition features new content.
There's a 3rd book, coming out with these 2. We're reprinting book 1 and 2 through CMON, and there's a completely new book, 180 pages, if I remember rightly. It's a big story, and it's kind of a prequel. It's like a Tyrant, the main bad guy in book 1 and 2. It's his backstory, basically. Hence the miniatures. There's that lovely miniature of Tyrant on the bull.
Yeah, speaking of those, I see a few questions about them. We want more minis for Hate. We got you. We're getting there. Here they are. So who are these? Let's let Adrian introduce us to the characters first, and then Kenneth can introduce us to the gameplay.
So the guy on the right is Tyrant, and this is in his heyday when he was a little bit younger. So you'll notice some slight differences for people in the know, but that's him, and it's a great mini. I can't wait to get that. And the other guy, I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember the name I gave him in the story, but he's one of the characters who gets in Tyrant's way, basically. Yeah, he is actually quite an important character. I can't believe I've forgotten his name. Might be Tier Cash or something like that.
Yeah, the names are very difficult. They are very difficult to say, so I don't think anyone can blame you there.
Okay.
Well, Kenneth, this is extra content for Hate. Very exciting. What can you tell us about it?
It is. It's gonna be a big box. These are the biggest miniatures by far in the Comics Volume 2 collection. I think the Tyrant is 120 mm by 70 mm, and then like another 15 to 16 cm height. It's huge. Yeah, he's towering over anything that we have in this collection. And the other one I have him. He is a Shakhtar. He is Shakhtar, right? It's the dragon.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I think specifically his name is Rashnar. That's on my file.
All right, no, he's in book 1 and 2. This is a different guy. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah. These are simply mercenary cards. They are mounted figures of. I think there were these figures in the original Hate game, and these are the mounted versions of them. We will have 2 figure cards for one for each of them for your games.
These are very impressive visually. I mean, Hate is very impressive. The comic itself is very impressive visually. So I imagine sculpting these as a whole extra layer of complexity due to the style. Right.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job. I think they're beautiful. Really beautiful.
Definitely. I think we went all out for this. This might be like the most multi-part mini that we have as well, on top of the size. I don't have the plastic here, but we have it in the office, and it's amazing.
It's always good to hear that I'm annoying someone, be it a sculptor or the people who put these things together.
Well, Adrian, thank you so much for joining us. Next up, we'll talk to Chris Lights about Dust, London Falling. Any final words you would like to say to the audience?
No, thanks for all the follows and stuff like that. And if you do get the comic, I hope you enjoy it. I'm pretty sure you will. I'm very pleased with that. And there's more to come. Always more to come.
Exciting. Well, thank you so much. So next up, we'll be talking to Chris Lights about Dust. See you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hello, and we're back. And joining us now, we have Chris Lights, who wrote the Dust, London Falling graphic novel. Hello, Chris. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Chris Lights. I am a writer and a game designer. I've been doing that for about 12 years. I've been working on Dust for about 10. I've worked on Conan, Unknown Armies, Shadowrun, lots of different IP in the gaming industry.
Yeah. Wow. And what can you tell us about this title, about London Falling?
Well, London Falling is set after the fall of London, coincidentally enough. It's been taken over by the Axis, which is something that I think fans of Dust will know happened in the game story. So this centers around a ragtag group of resistance fighters who've stayed behind and are trying to push the Axis back out. Unfortunately, the Axis have one Elka Volker, who is a powerful major in what's known as the Blutkreuz, which is sort of their intelligence special operations branch. And she gets assigned a mission to help a nefarious doctor summon a mythos horror. And unfortunately for her, the person that they have to kidnap to summon this horror is an ex-flame of hers, and they did not end on good terms. So in addition to managing this sort of band of misfits, she also has to decide whether or not she can get past her emotions for her former lover and get the mission done while London lies in ruins and is under a strict authoritarian occupation.
Wow. What aspects of the game did you want to make sure you would incorporate in the story?
Well, I wanted to get the pulp element. It's a very pulp feel to it, so I wanted to get that Indiana Jones flavor in there. That was big. The military element, it's a military accurate game up until a point, and then you get into the realm of science fiction. So I wanted to get the walkers in there. Those are sort of like mechs, for those of you who don't know. I wanted to get the sort of desperate ruins, the down gritty street battles that go on, some of the iconic weaponry, some new stuff that's been invented specifically for the comic. I think Dust fans will be pleased, I hope. If not, you can come find me.
Wow, that sounded like a challenge. I will fight you to defend.
No. I don't want to. Find me online and just say, hey, it didn't work for me, but hopefully it will. I think fans will be pleased with it.
What's your relationship with the game?
I started about 10 years ago or so talking to Paulo Parente, the well-known artist, created the World of Dust, and he commissioned me to write a novel. And from there, my role slowly grew, and I became the head writer for Dust and helped with the world and the narrative and some rules here and there. And so, yeah, it's been one of my main preoccupations for the last decade. So I am fully deep in Dust.
That sounds funny and horrifying for people like me who would die if they were covering.
Actually, I have really bad asthma, so I would die as well. So I'm deep in Dust as a concept, but not as an actual thing.
Can you and Kenneth introduce us to the cast, which will come as promos for those who pre-order the comics, the graphic novel?
Yeah, the leader is Wanda Washington. She's a major in the Allied Army, and she's basically the one that gets the assignments and then makes sure that this group carries them out. One is a former British commando who was wounded badly in one of the former battles of the war. He's a hard drinker and a harder guy to get along with. Then there is a former German soldier who was kicked out of the German army when it was a little bit less hospitable to different kinds of people. And he's in it for revenge and to prove himself. There's also a London gangster who sometimes helps the group out and is sometimes out for himself. Then we've got a kid named Jim who was in a Japanese internment camp up until he was about 14 or so. Then he made it back to London, only for his parents to be killed in London during the occupation and the attack. And then you've got Dr. Anderson, who's the archaeologist, and he is Wanda's former love interest. And then there is Elka Volker, who is our bad guy, as it were, except she is a woman and a very capable one at that. And then there's one other character, but we don't have a figure for him because he's just a nasty little evil doctor.
Great. So to introduce the figures, at least their names from left to right, we have top row, Jim, followed by Major Alcavoca, who is our evil villain woman. Villainess. Yeah, there we go. And then we have Eddie Gamson and Hoffman. That's the top row. And the bottom, the first one is the leader of the team, Major Wanda Washington, followed by Sophie, you mentioned. She's a private, right?
She used to be a sergeant, but she assaulted a superior officer and got busted down to private. Although she says it was justified, she's got, let's say, some a little bit of socializing problems.
Right, and then Dr. Lloyd Anderson, bottom row third, and the last one is
that is Sergeant Reese. He
yes.
is the former commando who is now working in the Resistance, having stayed behind.
Great. And all of these bios we can find on the pre-order page on the tab with Dust, so you can see the characters and their backstories as well.
Yeah, pre-orders are open, and I guess we have everything you could possibly need there. We have a synopsis, we have the visuals for each of these characters, we have the bios of all the authors. We really invite you all to visit the page and learn more about each different graphic novel we have there. Let me see. Someone asked a question that I think is funny. So if we can just get to there. We're running out of time. We should end this, but I just thought it was funny. An Indiana Jones vibe.
Yeah, I've always seen Dust as a very pulp game, and I am probably the biggest Indiana Jones fan on the planet. So all the stuff I've written for Dust has had some sort of Indiana Jones vibe to it. In this case, there's an artifact that they need to get a ring in order to summon this mythos creature. And then there's some little Easter eggs that reference the Indiana Jones movies that you can see if you look closely enough. So it's adventure, it's military style, action, combat, and then some emotional stuff underneath, undercurrents of people trying to get along and somebody deciding whether or not they can live without the person that they once loved.
Wow, that got deep. So that took a deep turn. I was still trapped in the Indiana Jones idea.
Think of it more like the first one with Marion,
Oh, true. Oh, that's true.
There's a lot of arguing going on between Dr. Anderson and Major Washington, especially about their past relationship and things that Dr. Anderson probably should have told her that he didn't.
Well, I think that's the time we have for today. Any final words there before we wrap this up? This was a lot. We covered a lot of information. There's more next week, but any final words, Chris?
I hope everybody that enjoys a good pulp tale, a good adventure, and Dust gets in on this. I think you'll be pleased.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Me and Kenneth will say bye, and I guess we'll say bye to you first, since we'll be closing in here. Thank you so much. I hope we'll talk more soon, and see you.
Bye.
See you.
Well, Kenneth, that was a lot.
It
was. Of information. Yes.
It's not everything, but it's a lot.
Yes, that's important, actually. It's not everything. We still have 5 titles to cover. More 5 titles to cover, which we'll be covering next week. I think Tuesday. I think Tuesday noon EST, the same time as this one was. So next week we'll be covering the other Twilight Imperium title with the other 6 promos, so Firmament, and then all 3 Zombicide titles. So Modern Zombicide Volume 2. Invader Volume 2 and Black Plague Volume 1.
Yep.
And
which is new to the line. And Death May Die Volume 2.
And Death May Die Volume 2. Really exciting. Oh my god, it's a lot. Kenneth, that was impressive. You just covered several different titles. Thank you so much.
No problem. I think there's one thing that we need to address. I think some people were saying in the comments that they were asking about Comics Volume 1.
Oh, true.
Available. It is not. However, it's not for the pre-order, but it is coming to retail very soon. You should be able to see Zombicide Day 1 on retail sometime in January.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, January 18th or closer. I think we do have a link where you can pre-order the comics. Not in the same way you can pre-order ours, like just so they warn you when they're available. They'll drop the link in the comment section, hopefully. So we'll start with Zombicide, and hopefully all 3 graphic novels from Volume 1 will be published and available at retail in the next few months, correct?
Yep, that's right. That's Death May Die, Fight or Flight, Zombicide Day 1, and Zombicide Invader. The name's missing me. Something or other.
I can't remember either.
First Contact, that's the one.
Yes, perfect. The extras, though, were exclusive. So if you're interested in the stories, you can absolutely get it. The extras, unfortunately, not anymore. So that let that inspire you to take a look at our Volume 2 with more care as well.
Definitely.
Well, Kenneth, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's really late for you. So
right. Thank you, Elena.
Thank
I'm
you.
good. I enjoy these talks.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you on Tuesday, and I hope I'll see you all watching us on Tuesday as well. Talk to you soon.
See you.